Welcome to the Deeks.ai podcast, where Wake Forest innovators unpack the real-world magic of artificial intelligence through candid conversations. I'm Michael Ferrari.
I'm Ryan Scholl.
Please join us as we explore how artificial intelligence is transforming work across campus, one fascinating story at a time. Ryan and I pull back the curtain on our personal AI workflows. From Claude and Gemini to Suno and NotebookLM, we share the tools that we rely on daily, the custom apps we've built, and the surprisingly simple ways AI has made our lives easier. If you've ever wondered what putting AI to real use actually looks like, this episode is it. All right, welcome to a special episode of the Deeks.ai podcast. Ryan and I thought it might be a good idea to answer a question we get quite a bit and ask other people pretty much on every episode, which is how we use artificial intelligence. And I don't think we've really given much updates on how we've been using it for quite some time, Ryan.
I think it's going to be easier to say how we don't use artificial intelligence at this point.
Yeah, right.
I think it's just getting ingrained in our workflows. But yeah, so I just think this could be interesting. We've gone back and forth and we've talked a little bit about some of the cool things we've done and how we've integrated it. So I think we should just jump right in.
Absolutely.
I guess the first thing is, I know I use a variety of different large language models, some of the foundational models. Which ones are your go-tos?
So right now, my go-to for like just some kind of broad variety general stuff is ChatGPT. I have the app on my phone, so I'll use that for, any kind of like mundane, more mundane stuff like that is applicable, to what I'm doing for my projects and everything that I'm really working on, both personal and, at work. I'm using Claude now. And then here and there, I have done some stuff with Suno and the video. I can't remember what the name of the popular video generator one is, but Nano Banano, is that it or something?
That's the image generator.
The image, well, whatever the video one is, I can't remember. Sora, is that it? Sora?
I hate to tell you, but they killed Sora.
Did they really? Well, I haven't honestly done video work in like a month and a half.
Way to stay up to date with that.
Hey man, that's what I have you for.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of flip between the big three models mostly. Gemini is my workhorse. I use that all day long, every day. I flip between the different flavors of it, the Flash, the thinking. I don't get into Pro so much. But Gemini is the one that I create gems and scheduled actions and images, and it's integrated in the Google work. Claude is my specialist. I have it do coding. When I want to get creative, I use it. And then through Cowork and Claude Code, I can make it just do stuff. Yeah. And then since I don't have a paid version, I do use ChatGPT, but that's more for counterpoints. If I need another opinion, I want the models to talk back and forth, which I'll get into some examples of that. And then finally, I've been doing a lot more with API calls and building some apps, which we'll also talk about. So I've been experimenting with using free API calls from Gemma and Llama and DeepSeek and Nemotron. So I'm out there, I'm testing them all to see which ones I like. And it's kind of a wild, wild west, but I have different use cases. And I think that's what we're going to get into, some of these use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think some of me sticking with ChatGPT for the way I use it primarily on my phone, like, I don't know, say I'm shopping for a lawnmower or something and I want to get some information about it. Like, I think it's just easy, and I just have like other stuff that I was working on previously already in there. So if I need to go back to something that I was like doing work with, like, that's just kind of a convenience thing for me still using that. But I would say like 95% of what I'm doing now is in Claude.
That's interesting. So what kind of stuff are you prompting Claude for?
So Claude, I am working on primarily, like, I have a big project that I'm working on right now involving something that I've been working on for years, kind of around like fitness and stuff like that. And I also use it for just like some one-off like fun stuff. So over the weekend, my wife, myself, and a friend were playing darts, and we wanted to play like a special version of darts where like the board, the dartboard changes values, like the numbers technically change for which one are active. So like cricket, and then like so in probably about like a half hour, I was able to like fine tune a little web app that I could cast to the TV where we could follow all the rules, keep score, see whose turn it is, like, and all that. So little stuff
Wow,
like that.
that's pretty
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I want to go through some of the chatbot kind of prompts things that I've done, and I did an episode, or we did an episode, I believe,
sure.
maybe even over a year ago now, about parenting. And
Yeah,
just if people didn't listen to that, I did a lot of interesting things for the kids, like making personalized stories. So insert the kids in
awesome.
a creative story, and they got to pick the protagonist and the antagonist. Created coloring pages for whatever was in their mind: a dinosaur
Awesome.
fighting a zombie, riding on a jet plane,
That
uh,
sounds pretty cool.
and
You could send that to me too, actually.
and then more, more, great on the parenting side. I would create little mini quizzes and worksheets for them to do, in the summer, so they don't lose some of their abilities. And then we even created some choose your own adventure games. So,
Awesome.
when we were kids, how you have to, you turn the page to the book and you'd go to, and this was a little more updated, but you can customize it. Like, for instance, I think I made it through a building at Wake Forest, maybe the library. So they had to
Mhm.
go into different rooms, and then do they go into the writing center or the special collections room? So that was kind of fun
Gotcha.
for them.
That's
But I
cool.
think that's all stuff I've talked about in the past. I think
Yeah.
my biggest use case for the prompts and just the chatbot is just brainstorming and a thinking partner. I don't
Okay.
really use it as a search. Like that's not really what I do. I use it more to brainstorm ideas instead of how do you do this? I'm like, give me 50 ways to do it, and then
Sure. Sure.
expand on numbers 10 through 15, and then talk to me. So it's much more of a back and forth, like a thinking partner. And so it's not a one shot, one and done. It's a brainstorm and then go back and forth on things. I think that's probably my biggest use.
Yeah, I think there were times early on where maybe I used it I notably like ChatGPT more almost like glorified like Google, but never really just like direct like, hey, who was in, this movie or something like that. But I think I've definitely really more fine tune it to where like a lot of times if it's like if I fail to find something through traditional searching, then maybe I'll turn to something like ChatGPT or something to then try and get an answer. So yeah, I'm with you on that, and I think your use case with your like kids is like a great idea. Now, a question: have you thought about adding any gamification to it to kind of push them to like do work and learn and all that type of stuff?
I think that's a teaser for an app I'm going to talk about a little bit later.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay.
Um, Yeah, but with the kids, they like to learn things, but I think I will admit I'm a kid at heart. I'm really curious, so
Hmm.
I always like to learn, and when we have the world's information at our fingertips, I'm very curious. So I'm always asking myself questions about, or see, this or that. And recently, I was on a hiking trip, and I was hiking around a lake. I was very curious about the formation of the lake,
Hmm.
so I had a conversation with Gemini as I was walking about the formation of the lake, and it was a
Interesting.
conversation. It was back and forth about how that formed and why it formed. Um, I wanted to know how the carburetor on my car worked recently, so I had another
Sure.
question. I was interested in what investing in crypto is like, so I needed to understand and learn. And I've decided, no, I'd like to keep my money where it is. But that was a good conversation. But I think that's where I'm just very curious. So I do a lot of research on things, and
Yeah.
I go back and forth and I ask for the sources and say, how did you learn this
Yeah.
information? And so I think it's a very interesting way to find out information. I don't want to say learn because we can do a whole
Yeah.
science on learning, but find
Yeah.
out information about certain things.
Yeah, you know what? That just reminded me of two specific use cases that came up recently where it's just things that are kind of outside of my wheelhouse. where one of them was I was having some work done on a vehicle. And then so I shared with it the quote I got and was like, "Hey, does this sound about right? Like, does this look, legit?" And then it went through and it was like, "These all seem standard. This is a good like rate. This one you might want to get questions for about, and then this one absolutely asks specifics about what this means because that price is on the high end." And then kind of very similar, I found something on Marketplace. I think it was like a lawnmower or something. And I was like, "Hey, does this look like a good deal for this?" And then it like broke it down and was like, "Ask them these questions to know if this is worth it." So,
Well, I had an almost exact same situation with some car maintenance one time, and I put the invoice in and I asked questions, and the model said, "Hey, you can do this one by yourself," and gave me step-by-step instructions based on my car and how to
hmm,
actually do it, and saved me a couple $100, basically saying, "Hey, this is pretty easy. You can do it." And then, just like you said on the shopping, I do use it occasionally to find products, but I compare different ones. And then here's a pro tip. I will actually get multiple models on this, and I will take the output of one model and put it into the other model and say, "Hey, what do you
interesting,
think? What do you think about Gemini's response?" And then Claude will respond to Gemini, and then ChatGPT will respond to Claude. So I have a model
interesting.
council kind of thing. I've built a gem to do this,
That's
where
cool.
I put something, and it's great when it debates products because it talks about the pros and cons of different products and is this the right thing for my situation. So I like making this model counsel, and that's for shopping, but you can really do it with any decision
Sure.
where the apps or the models actually talk to each other and they can go back and forth. And then as the user, you can break in at some time, but you get multiple opinions. You don't have to follow just one.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's really cool.
Have you experimented with scheduled actions at all?
No, I have not.
So this is a good tip for any of our Gemini Pro users or whatever they're calling it now. I can never keep it straight, but you can have scheduled prompts. So I have multiple prompts that run daily to give me certain pieces of information. For instance, I do an AI and education briefing every morning. So when I wake up, there's a brief all curated to exactly what I want about artificial intelligence and education. I have one, obviously, for anybody who's been to my Notebook LM classes, Notebook LM changes on a weekly basis. So every day it says there are no updates, or every day it says these are the updates that you want to know about with Notebook LM. And so every
Okay.
day. And then also it gives me the Yankees score. So I always
Okay.
say, okay, what happened in the Yankees game last night? How many
Gotcha.
games are remaining? What are the standings? So it just gives me like almost like a front page of a newspaper.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
it's an everyday kind of thing that runs.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I haven't messed with that yet. I just think I haven't had a good use case to where something like that would be like useful for me. So, I mean, that may pop up at some point where I give it a go.
So sticking in Gemini, have you played much with gems?
I have not. I have not really used gems much.
And as our longtime listeners will remember, these are the structured, repeatable prompts. And we've done an episode on what gems are, but they're basically prompts you can save over again and just run them,
Hmm.
at your convenience. Well, for instance, I said I created that model council with a gem where I've created different personas, and so
Hmm.
I have like a real positive person, then the contrarian, and then sort of normal, and they go back and forth even in the same model, and they will debate any decision. Talked about like a summer school gem I made for my kids.
Hmm.
I've made a custom nutritionist, so it has all of my health information, knows about me, and I can scan pictures of barcodes or a product picture and say, "Hey, how
Awesome.
does this fit my situation? Does this product meet my goal?" Or design a meal based on what my goals are, and it knows
Ah,
my
okay.
exact health situation. So I think that's an interesting case. And then, more on the fun side, I created a poker tutor. So
Okay.
um, it's a simulated poker game, and it describe, okay, this is what you should do in this situation, or I will make a move and it says, why did you do that? And it'll tell me the probability. Um, I can't tell you if it's helped me or not. I want to say I've gotten better, but
That's funny.
so yeah, those are some interesting gems. Those are just those repeatable prompts you can run over and over again, almost like your custom AI.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, everything I've seen about like gems seems really cool. I think that's just another one where I just haven't had the use case pop up yet to really dive into it.
But I know you've done quite a bit with the multimedia, and you've played with
Yes.
Suno.
Yes. Yeah, so I've used that for, just funny stuff like, just sending making a song to like mess with a friend or something like that. But I do think it is also very useful for like if you're just doing a video and maybe you just need some little music behind it that, you're not going to pay to license a song or something. But you'd also don't want one of the free songs that you hear a million times on YouTube. I think it's great for that as well. And also, I've used it for just making like in tandem with some video projects just for fun, like with friends, where again, something where you weren't going to license music or anything like that.
Yeah, beyond background music and little intro stuff,
Mm.
um, I mostly use it for personal things. One thing I do like to do is occasionally my friends or family and I will do some event, and we'll have pictures to remember it by. But I will send a recap. I will make a song as a recap, so you can go listen to a 2 minute sort of history of what we've done in audio
Oh, cool.
format. So I think it's just a different way of sending out a memory. And then I've
Yeah, no,
made
that's
custom
cool.
songs for friends' birthdays rather than just sending that text that says happy birthday. I've quickly produced a song in their favorite genre and put
Yeah.
some lyrics that are completely tailored to them. So I think it's just a new feature, a new spark some ideas that people can try just to expand some possibilities.
Yeah, and I will say it is a guilty pleasure of mine every now and again when I come across like an AI like cover of a song in a totally different style. I'm sorry, but I've heard some that were awesome. Like that
Well, you
I've
did
heard,
that whole episode on AI music too.
yeah, yes, yes. Yeah, that was just I don't know. I think there's just something fun to that. And I've heard some that again, I'm sorry, but they just sounded really good and I've listened to them a handful of times.
So before we get into some of the apps we've built, I want to
Sure.
talk a little bit about Claude.
Sure.
Claude specifically, because Claude's a lot in the media, and you hear all these AI forward people talking about how crazy it is and all the things you can do.
Hmm.
Um, I know for me, I've used it to build some skills, which are similar to gems in a way. They're just more instructions. So you can ask Claude to do something and you can just say, plan this, and it knows, okay, because he said plan and this, it's going to follow. So, for instance, I built a weekend getaway skill that I have a friend I like to travel with. So it knows what we like to do, where we want to go, that kind of thing. So I can say, plan a 3 day weekend getaway to this region. And it'll say, okay, based on that, I think you want to go here, you want to stay here. These are the activities you want to do. So it
Cool.
plan, and then it produces basically a whole itinerary for us. And all I've said is plan a 3 day weekend in North Carolina or the mountains of North Carolina, and it already
Cool.
has that all that information. So I think
Okay.
skills are incredibly useful. I think anybody who has Claude should really play with those.
Oh, very cool. No, that sounds awesome.
And then another feature of Claude is co-work, and that is the a way to make your AI do things for you or create
Okay.
things. I've done, for anybody who knows me, I love to make spreadsheets and matrix and comparisons. So I do shopping comparisons of a bunch of different products. I say I'd like to evaluate um, different types of sports drinks. So it'll go out there and find 100 different sports drinks and put all the nutrition information
Interesting.
and all that. And it'll categorize the sheet and color code it and produce a spreadsheet for me. I think that's kind of interesting. But you can make it produce a dossier on key figures and make a bunch of branding and then cite all the sources it's used. So it goes out and you give it a task and then it produces something. So
That's
cowork
awesome.
is incredibly powerful to do that.
That's really cool. I've used so kind of similar to what you were talking about with like the nutrition and all that. Um, I use that reminded me that I've been using Chat GPT, and I think I've been sticking with Chat GPT in this instance because I use it to create a diet plan for me that actually is working. So I'm just kind of like, I'm going to stick with this because it's working. And same thing if, I find myself at, the other day I was at a Mexican restaurant and I was like, all right, what's the healthiest thing I can have here that won't derail my diet. And it straight up gave me specifics like, hey, chicken fajitas are your best bet. Don't use the tortillas and steer clear of these items because this is where it can skyrocket. And then you can enjoy some of this and you can, have a little bit of this safely. And it was really useful.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, some of these tools, right? They have their different positives and negatives. Like I said, Claude is the one
Mm,
that's sort of taken over. You're talking about ChatGPT. One thing
yeah.
that Gemini has that the other tools don't is they have that live feature. And I
Okay.
know I've talked about this a little before on the podcast. Talked about where I set it up where it analyzes one of my kids' pitching motions, and it gives
That's
us
cool.
real time feedback. So as he's pitching, it'll tell him to pull his arm back further or
Hmm.
stride longer. And of course, no kid wants to listen to their dad, so he listens to the AI more. But it's live feedback. So he throws a pitch, and it says, "Okay, we'll try this the next time." And the kid goes and does it because AI told him instead of me. So who knows? Maybe
That's funny.
we won't have any more pitching coaches soon. But I use that same thing. We talked about car maintenance, but home maintenance as well. I
Yeah.
had an issue with my water heater the other day, and I just set up my phone and had Gemini Live going, and it read the model number and it told me exactly the knobs to turn and what I had to do based on what I was doing in real time. So having that feedback loop, and you're not out there on the web searching for okay this, and then I'm looking at a
Hmm.
YouTube video. It's not exactly the same model.
Yeah.
This is giving you live personalized feedback. I think that's just incredibly powerful. And that's something that Gemini has that the other models don't have yet.
No, that's cool. And that again, that reminds me of another interesting use case for me, not too dissimilar, where I had a huge rainstorm, and for the first time in my house, I haven't lived here for even a year yet. I hear like this noise coming. It sounded like coming through the vents, and then I ended up looking outside, and there's a pipe that I never even really noticed, and water is just shooting out of it. So I took a video of it and I was working with AI. I think it was ChatGPT, but I'm not 100% sure. And just being like, what is this? Should I be worried? And it said no, but then also, I have a family member who's in the HVAC field. So they ended up explaining it to me as well. But it was nice to be like, okay, I shouldn't freak out just yet while I wait for someone else to give me a call back.
So we've talked about different ways we've directly interacted with some of these AI tools, but I know we've both really jumped into building things using AI to
Sure.
help us build something.
Sure.
Explain one of the apps that you've built with AI.
Sure. So I touched briefly earlier on just a little like more or less website for the dart game and stuff. So that was something little, just fun to do. A bit bigger one, I would say, is I'm working with it right now for the Deeks.ai website that I've been working on, just kind of working out different concepts and,
Did you just globally announce the Deeks.ai website?
no, I mean, I alluded to it, but more info to come. Um, but yeah, I've been working with that to just kind of come up with a good way to do the site in a way that makes sense. And yeah, it's been really nice to be able to work with something and go through at like record speed, just go through different layout ideas and different ways to like serve the content. Um, and just like yeah that at not have to, I don't know, invest so much time working on a version that I end up not liking. So that was a big project I've been working on.
So I've two that I've sort of played around with in AI Studio just to test. But I made a lemonade stand game for the kids.
Cool.
The the old lemonade, like how much ice, how much, how many lemons, how many cups do you
Hmm.
need? And then it adjusts based on the weather, and it gives the kids some feedback. So that's just something I was playing around with in AI Studio that the kids can do. I also created a very custom game for all the fans of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. I made Where at Wake Forest is the Devious Deacon. And so you have to find the deacon in one building at Wake Forest, and it's completely customized to the geography of Wake, Wake students, different facts about Wake Forest. So it's just a fun little game when I was just testing AI Studio. So
That's really cool.
that's kind of something that's sort of built into Gemini and AI Studio that you can play with. I created a mobile app to synthesize all my massive AI email newsletters that I just can't read every
Cool.
day. So now I have an app on my phone that ingests all those emails every morning and then gives me basically a summarized briefing because a lot of the stories are the same. So it combines the stories that are the
Sure.
same and gives me one readout per day. And that's a mobile app that I have, which is kind of neat.
Oh, that's really cool. I like the idea. That sounds really awesome. Yeah. Now you mentioned before. I don't know if you want to talk about it yet, but the gamification and like your kids thing. I'm just really interested to hear more
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
So this is the one I'm super proud of that I'm really invested in. And as soon as we get off this podcast, I'm gonna go continue building this. But
Mm.
I'm building a complete summer school app for my kids that is all run by AI, and it's very adaptive. And so each kid takes an introduction assessment. So they go through and they take a quiz for different subjects, and then the AI evaluates what level of learning they are based on the NC standards.
Cool.
And then it goes through and they do lessons, and the difficulty of the lessons is based on their how they did on their previous. So on their previous exams or their activities. So it moves them up or down. It gives me a parent dashboard. And when I had the kids testing, they said they wanted to make it more fun. So I ended up giving them experience points, badges, and then the assessments have little games built into them. So, of course, I have the young boys. They wanted to have a boss battle at the end. So, at
Of
the end
course.
of each assessment, however that assessment, whether it's a multiple choice quiz or fill in the blank, there's a little animation of them. If they've passed, they defeat the boss. But that's a little game. But then they have leaderboards, so
Cool.
they sort of compete against each other with different badges and different experience points. And now this is a thing that they do maybe 10 or 15 minutes per day, but they want to get more points than their brother. So every day I want to do another lesson, Dad. I want to do another lesson. And the lessons are completely tailored to their interests. So in
Cool.
the intake assessment, it asked them what their interests were, and they got to pick from 30 different things. And
Gotcha.
so then it integrates their name and their interest into each different concept that they're learning. So if they're learning about science, it may put that in the context of soccer. If they're learning about history, it may be at a place that they visited with their grandparents.
Cool.
So the app really adapts to them, and it's each lesson is tailored by AI based on their level of learning and all their interests.
Wow, that's awesome. That sounds
It's a
great.
lot of fun, and I have live testers, so they test and then I just keep making updates.
That's awesome. That sounds really
Yeah,
fun. It's a great smart way to get kids to I guess kind of be invested in stuff that they might find boring otherwise. So that's
yeah,
really
they're enjoying
awesome.
it.
Yeah. Now you just got to incorporate some real world rewards and stuff. You earn I don't know,
Hey,
going to a
don't tell
movie or
them
something.
that. The experience points are great right now.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, the big project I'm working on right now is one that I've had for a long time, and I just never really got around to doing it, which is kind of like a program for tracking and like tracking like your fitness things. Like, so say you can enroll in a fitness program and you can have the option of having it pre-pop. Like I have one in there, say for instance, if you're like, I don't know, looking to lose a couple of pounds, and then it'll populate with the program, and then so you can go in and then log all your information, and you can also log other things like if you went on a walk or a bike ride and all that. And also, the one I'm really excited about is logging your meals.
Mm.
And then it gives you all kinds of information. You can see all kinds of like, you can see a bunch of different charts and just kind of see where you've been making progress or haven't been making progress.
Does it know about your cheat meals?
Yes, it does. I log them in. It does. It does. Yep, it knows about cheat meals and all that. If you have a adult beverage, that is in there. So all kinds of stuff. And I gotta say, I paired that with, like I mentioned earlier, having I had ChatGPT give me a diet and I think 8-week workout program. My goal was to lose like 10 to 15 pounds, and I blogged everything. And it's worked so far. I've been doing the workout plan, and I've been doing the diet plan. With some variations, like I said there, like if it's birthday, you go out to dinner or something. And it's been working, so it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it.
That is really, really cool. And you're going
Yeah.
to release that to the world, right?
I will. I will eventually. I have a couple people signed up to give it a test drive, and then also my wife wants in now, so I am getting her set up. Already have the diet plan and the workout plan. So, yeah, yesterday I welcomed her to the wonderful world of eating chicken and vegetables for lunch and dinner. So, see how she fares
I'm
with
sure
that.
she's super thrilled with you.
Yeah. Well, I told her the trade off. I'll take the trade off because it is pretty convenient. to Just walk outside and grab a little meal prep container and be like, "All right, I just got to heat this up." But yeah, it was awesome because I like worked with working with, like I said, Chat GPT, and I was just like, "Yeah, give me." I gave it my information, height, weight, goal, and all that, and then I think since that was working, um, it pushed me even more to work on the other, the tool for tracking all of that. So it's been really fun. It's been really cool, and even the flexibility of being like, hey, can you make this shopping list even simpler? And hey, if it's cheaper, that's fine. And I literally told it, I'm like, I don't care if I had to eat the same thing every day. And so it's working.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think the last thing that I want to talk about, and I probably should have talked about this sooner, but this is, I think, a really cool use case where I've integrated all different areas of Claude. So I'm planning an international trip soon, and I've used Claude Chat to brainstorm a lot of this information. So we go back and forth planning the dates and the routes we're going to take and the different sites we're going to go to, different areas we're going to visit. So it's sort of my brainstorming partner. But then I used Claude Code to create a wiki style web page that I
Cool.
store all this information. So once I have this chat with Claude, then what do I do with all this information? I want to keep it. So what that happens is that goes into a wiki that Claude Code has built. So you have to sort of understand the workflow, but then what happens is I take those decisions and I tell Claude Cowork, I said, hey, we've made a decision on our dates, put it into the wiki. And then I don't do anything. It creates another page on the wiki that says the dates. I say, okay, well, we booked our flights for this. So it creates a wiki page for that. I say, hey, we want to go to these 4 different sites. So it adds those to the area we're going to. It says, okay, this is the packing list. Okay. So it creates this whole site for me. And all I have to do is say, add this. And it goes and populates the page. And so now me and all my traveling companions, we can see all this information. And I'm just basically talking to Claude, telling it to do this. And it's populating the web page. So it's a really cool way to put all of these different pieces together and help us really plan the trip and keep everything together.
That's cool. That's awesome. That sounds really cool. I think your friend Jay would like that because I think he was using that for, or he was using AI for helping him plan a trip too.
Yeah, he was using Copilot. He planned a trip to Japan.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, I should have told him about creating a wiki page for that. I think he was using a Google Doc.
That's cool. That's a, you know what, that's a really good idea, especially as someone who likes to travel, and is also a fan. I'm a big fan of just like hole in the wall food places
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Hmm.
like I like the idea of just like planning something and being like, give me the highest rated, like just hole in the wall, like local places and everything. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I hope our listeners have maybe been inspired by some of our use cases here. Maybe they won't do exactly what we've done, but maybe it's some spark some ideas and thought,
Hmm.
hey, maybe I can try this, or I can create a game, or I can
Hmm.
do some research on a topic, or I can create a song, or heck, some of the more adventurous people can create an app for anything they want, anything that's in their head.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I would definitely say from me using it more lately on projects, like it really has hammered home my initial like thoughts of like you can get work done faster, but I'm seeing more and more of also like say you have 2 weeks to work on a project. If you use those 2 weeks and you're using it, with AI, um, along with it, that doesn't mean like, hey, you can get something done in, a fraction of the time and then you're good to go. Like I use it for those 2 weeks and make it way better than, if I were to have done it like, without it, I guess, in that span of time. So it's
So
kind
you're
of like
saying
what
higher quality and expanding your
exactly.
capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was gonna say is, and we've touched upon it with a lot of with some students and stuff is how and some educators where they're saying like there is kind of this like raising of the bar now just in general and with the projects I've been working on recently, I've seen that more than ever before.
Wait, hold on. You didn't think I was actually going to make it through an entire episode without talking about my Notebook LM use cases, did you? I'm going to take this one by myself because I think I'm probably flying solo here. But as we've talked about many times on the episodes, I think Notebook LM is one of the most useful AI tools out there. One of my favorite use cases is storing all the podcast episodes. We put all the episodes in a notebook and then we can reference them. We can say how many different guests have talked about Claude Code, or summarize what this guest said, or how many times did Michael mention this phrase, or what are the top 5 items that our guests have discussed. So it's a very handy tool to refer to our ever expanding vault of episodes. Another way I use it is in my projects. I'll take meeting recordings and notes and put them into a notebook, and then instead of having to search through multiple files and folders, I can just now interact with the notebook and ask questions and get information directly from all the sources. I've even taken audiobooks or PDFs of books that I've read in the past, and when I want to review the material in them, I can just converse with the book in Notebook LM rather than having to search for different areas or chapters in the books or that one part I think I remember but I don't really know where it is. On a more personal note, my son's Boy Scout troop does not share information incredibly well, so the communications are kind of a mess and all over the place. Well, now I take all those emails and websites and documents from the Boy Scouts and put them in a notebook and can reference that rather than having to search and hunt down the information in all the disparate places. And finally, I know we've talked about this in the past as well, but car manuals are a great source for Notebook LM, and the service histories about your car. So instead of having to get the manual out of the glove box or try to figure out when that last oil change is, you can just pull out your phone, pull up the notebook, and interact with the information to find the solution you need.
I think that was a pretty bigger conversation than I expected and everything. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe someday we'll tell our listeners about all the different ways we use it, because I know we just kind of got the tip of the iceberg on some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's just scratching the surface. That's some of the bigger things and all that. But yeah, I think that I would love to also hear some interesting ways that other people are using it. So by all means, feel free to send us an email at deeks.ai@wfu.edu.
That would be
And
great to compile a bunch of our listener ideas and talk about some of the stuff they've done.
yeah, I would absolutely love to hear that. So by all means, shoot us an email. But I think that's all I got. Anything else before we say bye?
I think that's it from me.
Cool. All right. Well, until the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Deeks.ai podcast. Please continue to follow the AI discussion by subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you have any comments, questions, or would like to join the discussion, please email us at deeks.ai@wfu.edu.